Have a look at this array. What do you think the problem is with the amount of data that is stored in this array? So if we think about RAM, every time we open an array, if we've got a large database, we're going to have to load all of this data directly into RAM. This is going to take a large amount of time, and as the array grows, it's going to cause RAM to become full. We need a better solution. Now, as we've said, computer programs are executed in RAM. So whenever we open those programs, the data storage is only stored in RAM. So the other problem we've got with Python programs is when we close the program, that data is lost. It's gone. RAM is volatile. So we're going to have to think about how we can store data externally and read it into our programs. We can do this using text files. Here's an example. We've got a notepad file with all these different items on the left. On the right is our Python code. Now the first thing we need to do is set a container or a variable name. We call this FH, file handler. We then open the file. We open the file called lines.txt and see how the .txt, the extension, is needed. We have a comma and then we have R after it. The R stands for read. This opens the file so that we can use it. When we use print fh.readLine, it's going to read each line of the text file. We could store each of these in an array, and that depends how you're actually going to use it. You've got two more sections of code, and you can see how we're using an array style to read back certain lines within the text file. Here are the codes that you need to know. First of all, how to create a file handler, how to read the file, how to read a line, and what happens when you read a line. Now notice in this file, when we use fh.readlines 0, it brings back all the data items. Now if we wanted each item on a different line in an array, we'd have to put a comma at the end. Have a look at these different items. What do you think is wrong with each of the code? The first one, text.txt. Well, this is an incorrect file name. It was lines.txt. The second one, read.fh. Well, that's the wrong way round. It should be fh.read. The last one, on the left-hand side, we're missing the R, the read command. We've also got FH, the H is missing on the left hand side. If we look at the ones on the right hand side, the first one at the top, it should be fh.readlines, and then the bottom two, we've got fh.readlines and we've got a comma, which shouldn't be a comma there, and then fh.close, it's got the brackets missing. When we're writing to a text file, it's a very similar circumstance. We have to open a text file and put W. Now the W means to write. Now this is where it's slightly different than when we're reading a text file. If the text file already exists, it's actually going to write over the top of that text file. Whereas if it doesn't exist, it's going to create a new file with that file name. We then use file.write or the .write command. Remember to close the file at the end so that we can remove it from RAM and free up that data. The second one is exactly the same, but we've used a \n. This is our text to tell us to put it on a new line. The last one, instead of a W, uses what's called an A. A is append. Now append is similar to what you'll have noticed for arrays. Rather than writing over the top of a new file, it adds it to the end of the existing file. But this is only going to work if there's a file already in existence with that name. Here is our debugger again. Have a look at these, pause the video, see if you can spot the errors. Number 1, we're missing a W or an A. So comma, W, A, to write or append. The second one, we've got a dot missing. The third one, it was actually files was our name that we were using, and we've got file dot. And then when we're writing as well, it's actually not an error, but we haven't put \n, so it's not added them onto a new line. Now it's actually good practice in Python to actually put them into mini functions or procedures. So for example, we've got a get data function, we've got a save data function, so that we can write data directly to a file. We're going to repeat this 3 times. Why do you think we're repeating it 3 times? You now have 3 trinket tasks to try and complete.